Hi. All right, so today's lecture will be on biogeochemical cycles. So if we break down that word, let's see. I guess I'll use white and we'll see. Okay, so if I get my drawing tool ready. All right. So bio is life, right? Geo is earth, and then chem is chemical, and then a cycle. Cycle is like a circle, right? It goes around and around. Okay, so biogeochemical cycles then are life, earth, and chemical, basically circles. And so it's how chemicals are impacted by life and how they cycle through earth. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So biogeochemical cycle is just a very long term for something very simple. So the water cycle is an example of a biogeochemical cycle. This is one that you guys are probably super familiar with, I would assume by now. So some basic words are evaporation, and that is where water is on Earth at some point in a water body. So that could be a pond, an ocean, a stream, any sort of surface, and it can be in a cup. It can be on your car. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just any time that there's water vapor and it leaves and goes into the atmosphere. And so that is evaporation. This happens with fog all the time, right? And so you see fog on the ground and then it evaporates. This is also a way that your body cools, is through something called evaporative cooling. And so literally that sweat, that water on the surface of your skin, when it evaporates, it like pulls some of that heat out of your body with it. And so it's called evaporative cooling. Kangaroos use evaporative cooling in a different way. They lick their forearms, and the spit is, water, basically. It's water and enzymes, and it causes that heat to get pulled. So they lick major pressure points on their wrists, and it cools them down really quickly. So anyway, kangaroos are cool. All right, and then transpiration is what we call plant sweating. And it's basically the same idea, except it's just for plants. And so just like you have glands and pores and stuff that want to excrete that sweat out, plants also have little spaces that I don't think we got to go into those this year, which is fine. But they have, little guard cells, and anyway, I'll save you. But these things open, and your little stoma, and they let water out. And so this is also a reason why plants droop, is because like when it's really hot out, sometimes they will let out too much water, and so they like droop, and then you have to water your plants, and it will increase what's called turgor pressure, which is like when you turn on the shower and it's like water pressure, and when like you're traveling and some place has awesome water pressure, or it's like barely dribbling out. It's kind of like that, but on the inside of plants. So if you think of like a stem on a plant, and the water has to get sucked up, it's called capillary action. Anyway, but it holds the plant upright, more or less. So when it droops, it can't maintain enough water pressure. And so when you water it, if you do it to a healthy amount and some well-drained soil, it'll stand back up again. And so more nerdiness with Ingle, right? Okay, condensation. Condensation is the opposite of evaporation. And this is, instead of going up into the sky, you're already in the sky, and you're holding on to others. So it takes a lot of water molecules before it actually makes a droplet in vapor. And so condensing is just like, oh, look, there's all these little tiny dots, and then it condenses into a bigger one. So it's like ding 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 ding, and then when all of those condense together, it makes one like big thing. And those condensed ones form clouds, and that's why you're able to see them at all. All right, precipitation is literally the exact opposite of evaporation. So instead of going up, it's coming down. And so precipitation is when a form of water comes from the atmosphere to the ground. So if it's like today, it rained all stinking day. And so basically when those clouds, right, depending on what they look like, they are just condensed, right? They're all these little vapors that have condensed. And when they get, basically saturated or too full and they're too heavy and they can't hold, they will fall to the ground in droplets. And it takes tons and tons and tons of water molecules to form a droplet. So it can do this in a form called rain. It can do this in a form of snow, of sleet, and hail. And hail's really interesting, but I have to save that for another day because I will run out of time. But if you want to talk about hail, come see me. Okay, so water cycle is a really basic one. This just shows you, it's just, you've learned this forever, right? Like you have clouds, it rains, it goes back up, it rains again, it goes back up, it rains again. That's also part of the reason it rains so much over the ocean, is because it's got like all this heat and a ton of water to just do like a yo-yo. Yeah, so if ice melts, it runs off. When it rains, it runs off, and all this runoff carries chemicals and blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's not much about the water cycle that you guys probably don't already know. All right, moving on. We did the carbon dioxide and oxygen cycle already. It's photosynthesis and cellular respiration. We literally spent like at least 21 to 30 days on this. So I'm going to skip this one if that's okay with you. The nitrogen cycle. This is one that I get a lot of questions about because people don't seem to know a lot about it. So we're familiar with the chemical nitrogen. It changes forms. I think it's just best. Let me just pull up a picture. Okay, so there's atmospheric nitrogen. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the number one components in lightning, which is really interesting. It's how nitrogen changes forms in the air is actually through lightning. So it's really, really neat. So anyway, it comes down to the ground where plants need it. The problem is that nitrogen in its first form is not in a form that plants can use. And so it has to go through nitrogen fixation. Well, how do you do that? How do you fix nitrogen? So really, there are very special plants called legumes, and they do that for us because they have a symbiotic relationship, which now you know what that means, on their roots. And this bacteria on the roots of legumes, like peanut plants, soybeans, things like that, they fix the nitrogen for us. And it's just like amazing. It's like a magical thing. And so the bacteria fixes the nitrogen so that plants can soak it up. And that's awesome because plants really, really, really desperately need nitrogen. Let's see here. It goes through all these processes. Ammonification, where it goes to ammonium. You don't have to know about that at this level. It goes through nitrification into nitrites, and then more bacteria, and then to nitrates. And then either gets assimilated into the plant or gets put back into the atmosphere after it's gone through some more stuff. You don't have to know a ton about that at this level. You just have to understand that there's a symbiotic relationship with legumes and bacteria on their roots, and that it goes through a process called nitrification or nitrogen fixation, better yet. So anyway, that's pretty much all that I think you guys are required to know at this level. So I'm not going to harp on it too long. Okay, you can read that if you want. Oh wait, where did it go? Where's my phosphorus? I can't find my phosphorus. Oh, phosphorus, you have forsaken me. That's okay. I have phosphorus stuff. Okay, so here's a picture of the phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus cycle is primarily poop, to be frank. it's basically just poop. And phosphorus that is stored in rocks, and then more poop, and then plants, and then more poop. It's just, this whole cycle is just about poop. It is the only biogeochemical cycle that does not truly enter the atmosphere in any way. Like nitrogen, you've got lightning, and that's up in the atmosphere, and it can also just go up into the atmosphere in general. Let's see, water obviously goes up into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide and oxygen obviously go up into the atmosphere, but phosphorus is one that stays on the ground. And so that doesn't mean that it can't go in cycles around the ground. It still does, but it doesn't, like, you're not going to find phosphorus up in a cloud. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to find the ozone is filled with phosphorus. So all of that, it stays on the ground. Okay, so looking at the picture, let's just find a place. Let's start with the bulldozer digger thing over here. Okay, so you dig it out of, rocks and soil, and you extract it into mines. It'll rain due to the water cycle, and it will run off into the rivers and stream, or it will be used in fertilizer, which we'll get to. It's not like we don't have enough poop on the planet, if we're being frank. So a phosphate is taken up by plants. Now this, I don't want you to think that like this is going into the sky. It's just, it ran out of room, and it kind of just wanted you to understand that like the corn right here is like really soaking up that phosphorus. Plants have a very specific ratio of nitrogen to phosphorus that they need to flourish. And each plant is different, but there's some general rules with agriculture. Okay, so the plants. All right, so basically it's soaked up by the plants, and then animals eat it, and then animals poop, and it returns that phosphorus to the soil, and then this continues. Also, there are dissolved phosphates that go into the water. Also, aquatic animals poop. Who knew? Also, aquatic plants take up phosphorus, and so this just keeps going, and it's all just a big cycle. Basically, things poop, other things use that poop, and then things eat the plants that are grown with poop, and then the things that ate the plants poop again. And so it's just poop, 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 poop all the way around. Yeah, I mean, basically that's the best way to describe it. So, okay, I think that's it for biogeochemical cycles. If you have any questions, please let me know.